Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 60 of Candid Convos with Celia Werner. I am so excited about today's conversation because if you notice, I'm not on the green screen. I'm actually here at my home movie theater that I created because today we're going to be talking about a project that me and director Andrew Akler worked on a couple years back, which is Batman Patient Zero. And what this project was is basically a obviously Batman movie, but it was a short action film that we kind of brought so many different aspects into, and we got to explore so many different avenues. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes an action short today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Andrew in and have him give a little background on himself. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. And where's my little graphic? There it is. Ask them in the comments, and we will do our best to answer. So without further ado, Mr. Andrew Akler.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Celia, for having me on this. This is really, really awesome. What a great opportunity.
Of course. I've been trying to hunt you down for weeks now, and we finally got it to work.
I know, yeah. Though I don't know how I feel about the shirt you're wearing, given the shirt I'm wearing. I think
I have a utility belt and everything.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about your background. I know my camera's lagging, but I will catch it back up.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I noticed that too. But so a little bit about my background. I actually started out in the film realm as a composer, which I still do. I actually just shared one of my recent Music Monday posts where we composed for a Westworld scoring competition, which is really, really cool. So that's on my Facebook and Instagram. You can check that out. And I started wanting to compose for film. So when I went to school at Hofstra with Celia, I was studying primarily film scoring, but that led me into having conversations with the film students and talking to them about ideas that I always had for movies and all these wild ideas. And then they all said, why don't you just go out and make a movie? So I did that with the help of the Hofstra Film Club. It was my first film called Wake Me, and it did really well. It won a whole bunch of awards at the film festival that we submitted it to from Hofstra. And I figured, you know what, maybe I don't suck at this completely. I had a really good time and I enjoyed myself directing, and I started pursuing that. So I still do the mix of both composing and directing. For the Batman film, we also did the score. I worked with my partner, Christian. He's my composing and mixing partner. So we just tackled that, which was really fun. But yeah, so it's kind of like a middle line between that. Music is so important to me and film is so important to me visually that being able to mix the two and just meld them together was a really cool opportunity and just thing. I think we all lost Celia.
No, I'm here. I had an issue. I had to restart my browser. It was overloading my computer because you were just that awesome. But thankfully, I know your background. And obviously, we're talking a little bit about something that we both know and love, which is we're talking about Batman today. And the film that we created. Would you mind giving everyone a little background on what Batman Patient Zero is and was, so that they have a little context as we go forward in our conversation?
Yeah, of course. So Batman Patient Zero started as a really wild what-if idea. I don't want to give too much away because if people haven't seen the film and they want to watch the film, it is on YouTube. I wouldn't want to take the magic away from
of course,
what the film gives. But yeah, so it's a what-if variation, I guess, on the Batman mythos. I was reading, there's this book series that I really happen to like called Something Popular and Psychology. So they have House MD and Psychology, Watchmen and Psychology, and Batman and Psychology. So I was reading that book, and it was talking about how the villains all kind of represent different aspects of mental disorders, how Batman represents, or Bruce Wayne represents, his own set of disorders and issues with society, with internal struggles. And I just kind of ran with the idea to be like, okay, well, what if we push that? What would that look like visually in a what-if scenario? And that's kind of how the script came to be. I just had the idea in my head, and I'm like, you know what? It's ridiculous. It's driving me nuts. Let me write it down. So I wrote it down. I shared it with Celia, and Celia was like, wow, this is this doesn't suck. Cool. Do you want to make this? Like, oh yeah, I want to make this. So we started talking about conversations, how we're going to do it. And we figured it would just be like a small, get our friends together who kind of look like the characters and go from there. But then as we were talking about it, I have a tendency to jump off the rails and go way big. And so it ended up being a much bigger thing where we had to hire stunt coordinators, and it wasn't just stuff we can do on our own. And it's an action film primarily because that's something I hadn't done. I don't think that's something Celia hadn't done. So it was, we had to get outside help, people who know how to do stunts and fight choreography to the level that we just didn't know that. So it became a very involved thing, but a fun involved thing.
Yes, I can vouch for how we're gonna go with involved this project was, because we needed to basically pool all of our resources, and we actually had, what was it, 40 to 50 people on set at a time.
Yeah.
For this film, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And,
film, yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of moving parts, and we had a lot of really cool locations as well. We shot in an abandoned hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Parkway.
Yeah, that was our primary shooting location, and then our exterior for Arkham was Kings Park Psychiatric Center, correct?
Yeah, and that was, for me, that was awesome because it's like the epitome of what Arkham Asylum is to me. So being able to actually, we got the permits and being able to shoot there for real was really, really cool. So we made a whole nonsense about that whole that was actually our first shooting day was the overnight shooting at night for the exterior of Arkham at Kings Park. And I'm really glad that was actually our first day of shooting the film, because that really changed everyone's energy. And the energy was high anyway, because who the hell doesn't want to work on a Batman fan film? But watching it unfold, watching the shots in Video Village, and just seeing it happen, seeing Batman, our version of Batman, stand in front of our version of Arkham, everyone was literally in awe. I think I forgot to call cut a lot of times. I was sitting there watching all right, yeah, okay. Just had to bring me out,
Yeah, and it was really cool, and we actually went through the whole process of getting permits and everything, whereas some people just go and take pictures at Kings Park, but we brought in lights, we brought in a crew, we brought in cameras, and we had
crane as well.
What?
We had the jib, the crane.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was quite an experience in itself, because we had to figure out how to coordinate with the local governing bodies that look after Kings Park, which was interesting.
But they were great. They were really helpful. The permit actually didn't take too long to get, which was nice. I know a lot of people really worry, and this is a big thing for indie filmmakers and for short filmmakers. Getting permits is a really scary thing. And, it's depending on the governing body, they will work with you. Most of them will anyway. That's what they're there for. But, they were very helpful. They did it very speedily. And, they sent people to come and watch. And the officers that came were just looking and hey, this is fun. This is Batman. It's pretty cool. So.
Yeah. They were down to be a part of it too. They were like, Batman, we're just gonna hang here. Yeah. We're gonna hang out in our car and we're gonna just watch what's happening. And I know that was our first filming day, but before we even got to our first filming day, we had so many things going, so many moving parts. And I think one of the biggest things that we did was casting. We spent a lot of time with casting. I put out the word on many different databases, and we had, was it 1 or 2 very long days in the city? I think it was one really, really long day.
Yeah, it was one 11-hour casting day with like a 20-30 minute break for food, and then the next we had a spillover day of just a couple of people who couldn't make it to the first day. We also had to do some online casting as well for people who were out of state at the time. So I know you and I hopped on those sessions as well, and that was separate, I guess, the third day. But it was a lot. Casting was very involved for this, for sure.
Do you want to explain kind of what we had people do to figure out if they would actually be able to do the stunts? We had obviously the coordinator there, but what was the important part, obviously, to you with making these characters real?
Okay, so the stunts played a very big part in it because the fighting style that we wanted to go with, Grace and Joe and I sat down. They were our stunt coordinators, and they were fantastic. So we sat down even before casting to talk about style of fighting, what it was going to look like, how each character moves and represents themselves physically. For us, the Joker had to be different than the Riddler. Harley Quinn had to be very acrobatic. So each character had their own physicality that they needed to have displayed in their fighting style. So Grace and I sat down. We talked about what that would look like, what each character looks like. Then we had to go into casting, and when she was in the room, she would ask them questions, vernacular and things that I just don't even understand. But stuff for people, what fighting styles are they coming in knowing? What are they open to learning? What kind of acrobatics? And all the actresses that came in for Harley, we had to know what they were comfortable with, what they were comfortable with doing. And so, yeah, she would get up there and test them, which was really cool. So it wasn't just like your traditional casting session, come in, read your lines, go home. It was come in, read your lines, now show us if you can kick ass or not, and how you can kick ass or not. And Grace would get up there and engage with them and run through like a little prepared fight scenario, which differed from each other depending on who we had in there for what character they were in for.
Mm-hmm.
It really was just very involved, and Grace was very hands-on. There's no way in hell I was going to get up there and do it, but yeah, that was something that was. We had Chris, who was our reader, get up there a couple times. Actually, Grace was like, "Hey, Chris, get up there and like get choked." So that was really interesting.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm doing what now?"
Yeah, that really threw him, but like he was a trooper. He went up there and he did it. I mean, he had a little bit of background in stage combat, so that was very good. But yeah, he had to stand in for Batman a couple times, get thrown around and pushed against walls, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I just remember like when we were doing casting, we were like, how many people are we going to bring in for each person? Yeah. And we sat down and we went through all the headshots and we picked out people. Some people we had read for multiple characters, and actually 2 of our cast members read for multiple characters, which is Nick, who played Scarecrow, and Kevin, who played Riddler. I believe they both also read for Joker, and they took everything in such a different direction, and you can tell just by how they were doing their readings how much they invested into figuring this out. And I think with everyone who came in, they spent the time developing these characters. Well, at least the ones that we picked. Some of the other people came in and they were like, I'm Harley Quinn.
Well, listen, I mean, you're being called in for a role in a Batman film. Everyone's going to take it differently. Everyone sees themselves as the character differently. So, yeah. But I mean, yeah, Kevin and Nick were 2 of the best people to have ever worked with, just in general. And I've worked with Nick on other things as well, but this in particular, yeah. I mean, Kevin came in, and what really got us with Kevin was also going back to the physicality of the characters. How when we asked him to read for Joker, he completely changed his physicality. So it was very different than what he presented us with in his reading for Riddler. And you really can tell how much work he put into it beforehand coming in. And that's to me, that speaks volumes. As a director looking for actors, that's one of the things I look for. And that really spoke to me about their level of commitment to it and commitment to themselves and the roles. Yeah, they all brought a lot of different aspects.
I think one of the hardest roles until Sarah walked in for us to cast was Harley.
Oh yeah,
we had a lot of women come in to try out for Harley, but if you don't get Harley right, like, she's the only female in the movie, and she also is such, not that not all of them are big characters, but she's such a standout character in comparison to the other ones, because Harley is more like anarchy than Scarecrow is. So if you don't have the correct not correct, but like a good representation with a solid background, it shows. And Sarah, I think one of my favorite stories is like She came in. We didn't have a bat, so like she was holding a tripod, and she's just swinging this tripod around, and she's like, "Hey guys, I'm Harley Quinn," and we were just like, "Okay, yes, you're Harley Quinn. Yes, do this thing, do these acrobatics," and she was able to do it, which was amazing.
In the room too. I mean, we didn't have a terribly large room, but we didn't have a terribly small room either. But she made great use of the space. She actually came in holding her water bottle first. And then I think Chris ran up to her and was like, "No, here, use this tripod. It gives a little bit more."
And then we were like, "Stop using the tripod. You're gonna hurt someone." But
because she was really swinging that thing. I mean, people, you hear stories of like, people pull their punches, especially in auditions. She came in with all the energy in the world, and it really was amazing. It was amazing to watch.
Yes, and like that was one of the highlights of the day because I was stuck in that room. I was getting like a headache, if you remember, and I was just like, okay, we have to make it to the end of the day. But it was a really awesome experience, and I remember sitting down and we pulled all of the different headshots and said, okay, how do we feel about this person, and how do we feel about this person, and there were many things to keep in mind with the different people and the different looks. And I think that people, when they watch a short film or watch a movie, they don't really think so much about the casting. They don't think about how much time went into that, but they'll think about how much time it took for someone to do a flying scissor kick or a scissor whatever in the combat scenes. And I think casting was one of our most involved aspects of this film, probably like, if not like one of the most important involved aspects of this film.
Well, definitely, of course. Yeah, and it took a while. We as the producers put in our time to trying to get it right, and I think we did. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I definitely think we did. We put in a good amount of work to knowing what we need out of casting, a good amount of work into the actual casting, and then once we cast, then it became a whole other ball game when we went into rehearsals and for the stunts. And it's like casting. If you mess it up, then you're in stunts, and then you have other problems. So our stunt rehearsals went like a breeze, and I think that's all because of the cast we had.
I would love for you to kind of give an idea of what goes into a stunt rehearsal for an action movie, because obviously there are many different aspects in a fight scene that people need to learn, whether it's, hey, you got to move this way so you don't get hurt, or you have to move this way so it looks like a block. Like, what was one of those stunt rehearsals? Because, I feel like people don't really understand how intricate choreography can be.
Yeah. When we were originally talking about doing it, I have a very minimal background in stage combat, like very, very, very minimal. And so we were talking originally about doing that and kind of having me step in and come up with the choreography and teach it to the actors. But once we progressed and realized the movie was going to be a little bit bigger than we originally intended, we knew we had to reach out to someone else with more experience. So we had Grace and Joe, and thank God we did. Because they were amazing to work with, B, incredibly knowledgeable, and they just made everyone feel really comfortable. That to me is the most important thing, feeling comfortable in a stunt rehearsal, because sometimes it's stuff that an actor is not used to. Sometimes it's depending on their background, if they have any knowledge of stunts, stage combat, film combat, they sometimes have to break their comfort zone. And we were kind of pushing it a little bit too with, again, how each character moves. We wanted it to be inherently different from one another. So the rehearsal was making everyone comfortable, loosening up, working with the space that we had, and then getting everyone on the same page of, hey, you may get hit. You may accidentally get smacked in the face or kicked in the nuts, which may or may not have happened once or twice. But, that... getting that level of comfort is definitely step one. And Grace and Joe were really awesome with doing that. Not just for the actors, but for me, because they ran the stunt rehearsals. I just sat there pretty much. And I'm sitting there watching people almost getting hit. And I'm like, oh my God, is it really going to happen? Yes, it did. But they were all troopers. They powered through it. And yeah, so the other challenge was you're in a rehearsal space. We worked with Shetler Studios, which is awesome. And we had one of the larger rooms because we needed the ceiling height, because at times, if you watch the movie, you're going to see that Harley at one point gets on top of Batman's shoulders. So you need to know what kind of space you're working with. And then translating that into the actual shooting space, the locations, was very interesting, because we went a little bit longer with the fights. We I guess composed them in a way that we can take things away or move elements of it around when we get on set. At the time, we still didn't have our shooting locations locked down when we were still in rehearsal. So we kind of made them, Grace and Joe wanted to do it in a way that can be altered based on the size of the space and how long we have there. So if we needed to take parts of the fights away, which we did at certain moments, we can connect the part before to the part after while cutting out the middle, and it would just move fluidly. So knowing how to move, how to make those adjustments was really crucial, especially when you're in the zone and filming it. The other aspect that we were talking about is, a lot of people who don't have a lot of experience with fighting, it's fun. It is really fun. You'll get wrapped into it, maybe a little lost, and either overextend a punch and then knock somebody out. So we had to make sure that it all, was there in the structure of what we needed to do, not getting super lost in it, but still making it feel fun and fluid. And everyone really adapted to that really well. I mean, it just felt, again, comfortable. When you feel comfortable with who you're working with and what you're doing, with your own limitations and knowing the limitations of your partner, then it becomes so much easier. You're more well attuned to it. And yeah, there was a lot of moving parts to it for sure.
And we really lucked out because Johnny at the time, but now John, he was a trooper, and like you said, and he played Batman. He had probably the most physically difficult role, obviously, in the entire movie, because most people had to learn one fight scene, maybe two fight scenes. He had to learn all of the fight scenes.
Six.
So he had a very physically demanding role, and I remember he started doing like workout classes the second he got cast. He might have been doing them before, but he's like, I'm stepping up, I'm doing this, I'm getting strong for this role, which he definitely needed, because as you mentioned, there was a scene where Harley was on top of his shoulders. There were scenes where like people were getting kind of flipped around a little bit, and like you need the physical strength to do that. If we had like scrawny little Batman, I don't think that we would have been able to get the success out of these fight scenes as we would with someone who is working towards that strength. And I know Sarah also like did a lot of prepping in the physicality, like of working out and getting ready for this role, because her moves were very acrobatic.
Yeah, and she also came in with the knowledge of a couple of different fighting styles she had trained and done different things, which was great, because Grace was able to leverage her knowledge of that into the comfort of being able to do it on screen. Because when you're training in something like Krav Maga or something, that is a little bit more contained, you still have the know-how and the physical ability to do it, and then translating that to screen, is a little different. But everyone was really welcoming of that, and it was cool because Sarah continued to study her different forms of martial arts, and I think dove into it a little bit more after she had gotten cast. Johnny too, and you're right, he did start working out. Not that he needed it. Dude was pretty buff as it is, but like we did have to work up to the ability for her to be on his shoulders, both for him and for her, the comfort, because that's a lot of core that he needed, which he had to further develop. Not to say that he didn't have it already, but to further get there. It was something we had to work up to, and it was really cool in the rehearsal room when we finally did it. We were all like, yeah, everyone was cheering. He started to cheer and then almost dropped her, which we were like, well, Johnny, calm down. Like, we know you got it, but she's still on your shoulders there. So, but it was really cool, to hit those milestones was really fun for everyone.
I think it would be really cool if we showed at least part of the Harley fight scene. Would you mind if I pulled that up real quick? Because I think that really shows all of what we've been talking about so far with the character development, the casting, and the choreography.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that scene especially, like, not that the other people didn't, do it, but this was probably our pinnacle fight scene. If you agree.
This was the most involved in terms of what we needed.
Yeah, so give me 1 second to pull that up.
Sure, yeah. Cool, everyone gets a little teaser of the film too.
Yeah. So here we go.
Hey! Bird brain! You know you ain't supposed to be in here.
Where is he, Harley?
Mr. J is tending to some of our other patients at the moment. He sent me to keep you occupied until he returns.
I don't have time for your games, Quinn.
Hey, that's not very nice. This one's my favorite. Guess I'll have to go to Plan B. Don't you ever get tired of this, E-Man? You know this is gonna turn out.
Not this time.
Wow, Bats, you really know how to show a girl a good time.
Enough, Harley. I want the joke. Don't want it too
I am
far off
frozen.
then. Well. Didn't Mommy ever teach you not to break into the good?
It's so fun. It's just so fun watching that over again. It's just so cool. I'm still amazed by that. We called it the Black Widow flip. There's an actual term for it that I do not remember. But like the flip when she wraps her legs around his neck and just spins him to the ground. It's just, that was just so cool.
Yes, and I apologize. I'm having some tech problems with sharing, so I got voted out.
Oh, wow. What? Well, welcome back.
Thank you. But yeah, I think that scene really shows how much work went into all of those things that we spoke to before. That shot where she like jumps and like goes and puts her legs around his neck and spins around and all of that. That is something that is so comic booky and like such like a personified version of like how you would see things fought, I would say, in a comic book, that we were able to bring that to life, which was amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if it kicked you out. You didn't hear this, but I was saying we called it the Black Widow flip because we pretty much nabbed it from why am I blanking on the name of the movie? Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
We nabbed it from Civil War because Black Widow does that with Bucky, except he flips her off onto the table, and then in this one we had Harley do it, and she was the one who got off of that and flipped Batman to the ground. Mm-hmm. So we changed it up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, there's an actual term for it, which I do not remember, but we just called it the Black Widow flip, and just to watch it was crazy because it is so comic booky and so superhero, supervillainy, whichever side you're on there. But it was really, really cool that we got to do that.
Yeah, and obviously at the end of that, the Joker came in, and that was the reveal for him. But I think that scene also has another element that was really important to making this movie such a like comic book feeling movie, which is the music and the sound, which I know that you had a very heavy hand in. I know you actually recorded that part yourself on guitar. Yes, correct?
Yeah, the Harley stuff was all actual guitars, and that was me playing it. Yeah. I mean, there were other elements that we layered on top as well. And one of the things we tried to do was make. Yeah, I really loved what we did, and all the credit goes to the costume designers and to Marcus who did all the props and other things with the costumes, like last minute touches, to make each character look specifically comic booky, but in a real life way. You know, we pulled a lot of influence from the games, from the books primarily, not from other movies that we'd seen before. And so seeing it in the scoring sessions, Christian and I wanted to give them all a different feeling audio cue. You know, they have a different visual cue. They look a certain way. We wanted to make them sound a certain way. So Harley, of course, the way she was dressed was very kind of punk rock chick. So we kind of went that direction with her, where, you know, Scarecrow, we did a little bit more traditional horror elements in the score. And Riddler had these very weird, just kind of like weird elements, which was very like kind of techie in one respect, but also orchestral in another. But yeah, so like each one was very different. We wanted to make it unique to them. And the Harley one was really fun because I'm a guitarist at heart, and I got to bust that out and be like, all right, I'm going to shred now. So I mean, it was cool, but I think it definitely worked. Oh my God, she has the bat. There it is.
Yes, I do have the bat, and you can tell the wear on this bat, especially over here and especially up here at the very top. But I figured I would grab that because obviously this is one of the, I would say, craziest props in the entire film, because, you know, she's swinging this, and like we went and shot some promos, and like she was swinging this at the stuff that was around in that hospital, and it held up pretty well. It's not. I don't think this is a full size bat though. I think this is like a shorter bat.
It is, yeah, and that was also another thing that we had to figure out with stunts, which is also super important. Do not use real bats.
This is a wooden bat, Andrew.
That one's the wooden
too.
Yeah. And so for the weight of it, we did have to get one that was not quite a full size regulation bat. For the promo shots and everything, yeah, she held the real bat. But for the stunts in the actual film, it was a plastic bat. And we had to find the shorter wooden bat, because what we had on set for the plastic bat was also a shorter, weird looking wiffle ball bat, not the thin one, but something a little bit thicker. And we actually had to rehearse the fights with both of them. So she gets the knowledge of the weight of the real bat, and then how to translate that to hold, because holding a plastic bat, the physics of it just does not behave like holding a wooden bat. And it could look different when someone's swinging a wiffle ball bat. It doesn't look as realistic as when you're holding a real bat. So we had to rehearse it with the real bat and then do it with the wiffle ball bat. And so this way Sarah knew how to hold it and how to move her body in a way that makes the movement still look like she's holding a wooden bat. And that was, I don't know if I even explained that correctly, but that's a really important thing when you're using. Stunts include not just using your body, but also includes using possible weaponry or possible other items and props. And so that's a really big thing to consider for anyone who wants to make an action film. Definitely rehearse it with the real prop. Get your actor familiar with, say if it's a prop gun or if it's a prop. I know Johnny had his grappling hook, which is fun. So like, yeah, get your actors familiar with the props they're going to be using. If it's a plastic version of it, get them familiar with the weight of a real version of it, and then rehearse it with the rubber or your plastic versions.
I think it's really important, actually, because, I was in this whole process, and that's one of the things I forgot, that we did that. And it's one of those things that you think, oh, like, I'm just going to give it to them on set. Like, no, you have to rehearse with it. You need them to be familiar with it, because And I've been watching on Disney Plus. There's a show about the props that they used in animated movies, or like partially animated movies, or even real movies. So like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Muppets movies and Mary Poppins, and
Oh yeah.
brought in people to talk about their experience with these props, and every single one of them said like, hey, like using these props, using these things, holding them in your hands really brings the character to life as well.
Yep.
So their familiarity and their like just holding this bat, like I want to swing this around like Harley Quinn, like, you know, it's more than just an item, and it's more than something just on a prop list. To
It's part of her.
I'm just gonna sit here with the rest of it, just
just cradling it, you know.
Yes. This is, I think this is the only prop that I have. Are there any props that you ended up with at the end?
Oh, I took a whole bunch of batarangs for sure. I took a whole bunch of batarangs. I was in possession of his grappling hook gun for a while, but that ultimately went to one of our very many donors as a gift. So that went to Royal Collectibles in Forest Hills and Metropolitan Avenue, and they actually have it displayed in their display case in the store, which is really cool. So yeah, and that thing is awesome. And again, props to Marcus, who was our props guy for all of that. You know, he designed that, he modified it. It was a Nerf gun. It was a little Nerf pistol that he put a new spring in there to make the thing like really fire. So if you're playing Hofstra versus Zombies with that you can't. No, it's it'll blow your face right off, which is for a Nerf gun. But yeah, I mean, he did a lot of good work with that. It looked awesome. I wish I had it that I could show you.
I would love to talk a little bit more of the props and rigging, if you're cool with that, because obviously with the Nerf gun, like you're going to shoot that Nerf gun, it's only going to go so far. But in the film, that grappling hook actually goes around, if I'm remembering correctly, Scarecrow's ankle.
Yep.
With his ankle, and then Batman pulls him back. So things like that obviously aren't just happening. It's not something that we can just be like, hey, we're gonna make a giant like heavy duty string come out of this Nerf gun, and then we're going to pull him back. So like for aspects like that, I know that we had a lot of figuring out for those things, but would you mind kind of going into like the reverse engineering of some of these comic book, I guess, aspects that we had to kind of make realistic in a way?
Well, it's funny you use the term reverse engineering, because that was actually something we were considering in rehearsals for that. We were trying to figure out, so we had a piece, we had the grappling hook, and then we had the rope attached. So for the shot specifically, where it goes around Scarecrow's ankle, we had to figure out how to do that. And for a time we were thinking, are we just going to loop it around his ankle and then pull it off, shoot it like that, and then just do it in reverse? That was our original go-to. So speaking of reverse engineering, that's what we wanted to do. And we had filmed it like that on purpose. And then Marcus, the genius that he is, was like, listen, I think I have a way to do this. And he was just, we went and filmed other things, then we actually came back to it because Marcus was playing around in the back with the grappling hook on the rope and just learning how to swing it different ways. And then he was like, okay, I think I figured something out. And the dude just looked like a cowboy going around with that thing. And he ended up actually being able to loop it properly around Nick's leg. So we ended up filming it like that. And the shot in the movie is not the reverse of it. It ended up being Marcus being a cowboy and just lassoing it around, which was really freaking cool. But yeah, so that was awesome. And then of course we had to utilize visual effects in shooting it out of the gun, because at its core, like I said, it's a Nerf gun, which you cannot spool the rope in there. So we had to detach the rope from the actual Nerf piece. We shot it out, and then our VFX guy Nick Proto, worked his magic to doing that. So, you combine the shot of the gun being shot, the rope coming out of the gun attached to the grappling hook, and then you cut to the shot, of course, where it's being looped around his leg. And in my opinion, it looked flawless. I mean, I'm a little biased, but it looked really good. So there are different elements knowing how to do that.
I think another thing we had to kind of make with VFX was the taser. There's a taser.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I remember you bought a taser and you're like, I scrambled it up. And then I think you didn't actually scramble it up. You just like kind of removed some stuff. And I was like, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, we looked at it. We got a real taser because we couldn't really build anything that looks like it's a taser, you know? And so Marcus and I played around with it a lot. And we even had to show to Nick Proto because you actually saw the little electricity in there. So we were like, well, obviously we cannot have this happen on set. But it was a purple taser, so we kept it and we used it. Marcus tinkered with it. I don't know exactly what he did, but he definitely prevented it from actually firing when you do it. I think he removed the button. He did some finagling. But like I said, he's a genius. But he did that, and so. But yeah, we had to play around with it when it was still functional to know what does it actually look like. And then Nick took that and designed his version of it for visual effects later on. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. Never use real weaponry on set. Never do that. Which hopefully goes without saying. If you have to use the item, finagle with it. And that's just my fun way of saying break it down, take out whatever it is that's going to fire, and get it the hell out of there. Thankfully, we didn't have any issues with that on set. But yeah, very, very important to know.
Yeah, 100%. And I know that also Marcus and his team worked with our actual set to create the things that we showed in the actual film. Obviously, it's a abandoned hospital, and I didn't like being inside of that hospital personally. So I was sitting outside for a lot of it, just like
a lot of people did not. I apologize for if any of my cast and crew are watching. I am sorry.
It's creepy. It's a creepy abandoned hospital in Queens. I don't know what it is right now, or if it's still an abandoned hospital. But you know, I
think it is. Yeah, I've seen people work on it. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're doing some stuff.
It's weird because you walk into this hospital and basically, like, it looks like people just up and left one day. Everything's still in there. Like, we were shooting a promo, and like I was like talking to Nick because Nick's in this mask and Nick couldn't like breathe or see or do anything. And I was like, do not touch this bottle because there was hydrochloric acid in that bottle. It was just like, that's not safe. That's not safe at all. But basically, like, you go into the different rooms, there's still like paperwork and stuff just dispersed. It just looks creepy, and it looked the part. It was the part. Oh, yeah. It was perfect for the part.
We found some wild stuff in that hospital. I don't even want to say what we found. We found some stuff. But yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right. From what I understand of the history of the building itself, the hospital was shut down. Everyone was asked to leave. And no one ever came back to collect any of the things or move them out or put them in storage of any kind. They literally just left it and abandoned the hospital. So like when you say it was an abandoned hospital, yes, it literally was an abandoned hospital. How we even were allowed to shoot in there was beyond me. But I mean, hey, we got our permits. People were fine with it. We did it. So yeah. Hell yeah, I guess.
100%. And like there were so many cool rooms in there between like that one room that had all of like the glass that we used for the Riddler scene, or like painted murals in there. There were so many cool things that we were able to use to elevate what we were doing, which is amazing.
And of course, you know, all of that goes to the production team, which, you know, Marcus as the production designer and his wonderful team. They went in there, they scoped it out. They came back with stuff we never even saw before. I mean, so they really dove into looking into boxes and drawers and stuff that most of us didn't really want to touch. But they were brave. They did it. They found some wild things, and it definitely elevated the film to what it is. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there were so many things that we achieved on set, and I think it really shines through on the actual film. And our film, it won some awards, which is not something that many fan films can say. But we traveled and we went to different ones, and we actually for a small production in New York, got to go to Dragon Con in Atlanta. We went to what was it called? Hollywood Comic Con. It was in Fort Lauderdale. I think it was.
So that actually, hold on. I have one sec.
I know exactly what you have. I think that their film festival was slightly different title than the actual Congo.
Yeah, so that one was Paradise City.
Paradise City. I was close.
Comic-Con Geek Film Fest. And so this is actually the trophy we got for Best Short. At Dragon Con, we won Best Short film.
Uh-huh.
And there were a few others. We went to Azur Lorica in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. That was a comic book film festival. There was there were a lot, so forgive me, I can't remember offhand.
Nope. I don't remember either. It's not just you.
San Francisco as well, that Christian and I went to, which was fun.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco Comic Con, which was really cool. And actually, shameless plug, the film will be part of another film festival this Friday at 10:30 p.m.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Now I know.
Yeah, I literally just found out last night. So, which is really, really cool. And it's part of a film showcase for helping end child trafficking. So I'm actually really, really happy that we get to be a part of this because it's for an amazing cause. And I will be posting and sharing the information when it comes to me. Like I said, I just found out very recently. So I will find out and I will share that. It is on Zoom, I believe, that people can come in. So all the proceeds go to helping end child trafficking, and you can watch a slew of really awesome movies, including Batman Patient Zero.
When you get that information, send it over to me and I'll share that as well.
Absolutely. Oh yes, absolutely.
So, obviously, we made some little waves. We actually didn't we make it onto a Sci-Fi Channel list of best fan films?
Yep, Sci-Fi Network. They have their again, I forget exactly what it's called, but they have like a roundup on their website every now and again of like really cool things and really cool movies and anything related to sci-fi and comic books. And so they made a roundup of the 10 best Batman fan films, and we were number 3.
Yes, we were.
Really cool.
Andrew, I would love to know, just because obviously you had, as the director, the writer and director, you had your hand in so many different parts of this production. Like, what did this actually mean to you? What did this production mean to you?
Wow.
It's a big question.
It is a big question. And it meant a couple different things, so bear with me with this. But it was, up until then, the biggest film that I had the pleasure of working on. I'd done a couple shorts before then, which did not involve stunts, didn't involve making costumes from scratch. This really was, for me, a true test of everyone's abilities. And I really put the success of it onto them, definitely not onto me, because the team that we had, both the cast and the crew, and there's so many people, like I said, there was like 40, 50 people, so many names, but they all know who they are, and they're all fantastic, because being able to work with them and to see them shine in their special ability to do all of this was incredible for me to watch. Just to be a part of that, and to, I guess, having wrangled and put together the team or helped put the teams together was a very, very special thing to me. And it's a fan film. We did it out of just love for what this fandom is, love for Batman, for these characters. And the fact that everyone, when I approached them about it, like, hey man, I'm doing a Batman film, whatever it is, they all looked at me like, what are you, crazy? How? And I was like, I don't know yet, but we're gonna make it happen. And we did. And so that was really, really special, that everyone heard my vision and listened to it and said, you know what? Yeah, we stand behind this. And that to me was really cool. And that kind of solidified for me my footing, I guess, in this wild West world of filmmaking. That if people can hear the vision that I have and they want to be a part of it, that is really cool. So that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot, of course, that they shared in my love of Batman and these characters. and wanted to help bring this story to life. And that was very, very meaningful. So, yeah. And then, of course, it was also a culmination of a true test of the abilities to do a stunt-filled film, an action film, which, again, I had never been a part of before I had done. So working with Grace and Joe, learning a lot from them, and making an action short was an incredible opportunity. And then, like I said, this is long-winded, I'm sorry, it's a lot of aspects. Being able to combine the writing, the directing, and the music, which I had done on pretty much all of my shorts, but this one was really different because you get to write music for Batman. And I approached it differently than I had with all the other scores, and it just came together and just mushed and meshed together in a way that I'm very, very proud of.
There was a lot of hard work on this. A lot of hard work on this, and from a producing standpoint, like I don't know how we got this done. I know how we got this done, but
and I shouldn't discredit you either. I was saving it for last, actually, but yeah, with the work that you put in as producer, none of it would have been what it is without you. Seriously. Like you and Chris and the whole producing team, but specifically you, we know how much you put into it. And I'm going to mention this. I know you always like, get cheeky when I mention this, but you cooked for everyone as well.
Yes, I catered.
You were just producer. You were set mom. You were producer. You were first aid, which we don't talk about. But you were caterer as well. You literally hand cooked food.
Yeah, I cooked 2 meals a day for a 40 to 50 person crew on top of producing and trying to sleep.
Trying to sleep.
Well, we did overnights. It was overnight shooting. So, for the most part. So, I mean, the sun came up many a time when I got home. I was just like, oh, this is pretty. This is nice. Oh, wait. I sleep now.
I gotta go to bed now.
Mm-hmm. And then we all came back the next night, and it was what, 2 weekends at the hospital?
Yeah, 3 days and then 2 days.
Yeah, so
2 weekends.
That there was a lot, and I mean, to be honest, and everyone seemed to like the food, which is great. We saved a ton of money from our budget because we did like a fundraising campaign. We did this like basically out of pocket with the addition of some very generous donors. So we didn't have a ridiculous sized budget to feed 50 people.
No.
Multiple times.
Somehow you made it work. You beyond made it work, because there are people who I know, including myself, who still ask you to make some of that food. Like when we have gatherings, like when we watch the Oscars at my house, I'm like, hey, can you bring like that quinoa? It's delicious. I know people like have asked you for recipes and stuff. So
yeah, I tried to keep it so that it wasn't just, hey, we're having pasta and vegetables, because on some like budget films, people do stuff like, oh, we're having pizza, or oh, we're having pasta, because pasta, you can buy a box of pasta for like $1, and that is something that'll keep people fed. But we want people to be, or I wanted people to be able to fully function, feel like they were well fed. All of the people that were working on our film were volunteering their time, so the least we can do is give them a good meal. It was a learning curve to make all of this food and then like cook it via sterno on set outside, because like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't inside of the hospital for a lot of it because one, I have a fear of hospitals. Thanks, Dad, for bringing me to work with you when I was a kid. And then two, like I'm a germaphobe. So going into an abandoned hospital that, I don't know what's in there. I didn't really want to be in there very much. I was there.
It was weird. It was fine. It was absolutely safe. I will say that.
It was safe. It was just like me looking at things and I'm like, oh my God, there's dust everywhere. That was something that like just me, like if I go into someone's house and I see dust, I'm like, But I was outside. I had my tent that I was sitting in, and I made sure that everyone ate. And I remember there was one day on set where we were really behind, and set mom Celia said, "Guys, what's going on? Why are we so behind?" And like without even finishing their food, everyone like started moving to like go inside and work more. I was like, "No, finish your food," but like listening to the producer.
Because they were taking their time eating this delicious food.
No, do you not remember this? It was like 4 a.m. or something. Maybe not actually 4 a.m, and I was like, "Guys, sun's coming up soon. We gotta finish these."
No, that I remember, yes.
And I know that our AD Kira was doing our best to keep everyone on time, but like these were not easy scenes. These were not easy concepts to put together, to not even just to put together, to coordinate between all of the different people. Like for instance, Nicole was doing someone's makeup, and then we needed that person to be in the scene, so we needed to get them there, but we also needed to coordinate with costumes, props, and obviously you as the director to make sure that all of these things happened.
Yeah. And also, I mean, camera and gaffing team had I think they had more work to do than usual, because you have to set up lights and camera in a specific way for filming fight scenes. So figuring it out, changing up the location when we moved locations within the hospital from room to room. We had our days of prepping where we were in there, but of course everything changes when you're on set, when you're looking at it, when you're, I guess, testing the water of the room and the scene. We had to troubleshoot and do things like off the cuff, on the fly, whatever terminology you want to use. But so they had their work cut out for them. They tackled it like pros, because they are. But I mean, it's a lot of moving parts from one department to the next. I mean, like it is on any film, but an action film is specifically, I want to say, much harder because of that reason.
Also, if I'm remembering correctly, we did it with multiple cameras.
We did. Certain fight scenes we had 2 cameras, yes.
Which makes lighting more difficult.
Yeah, of course.
To make sure that the lighting looks like it's practical, correct?
Yeah, figuring that out here was the challenge. The hospital had no power. When they abandoned it, they abandoned everything. They were like, Con Ed, gone, bye, out the window. So they had absolutely no power. We had to get generators to run our own power to the lights that we were using for the scenes. Some of these, we had to do upstairs, keep the generators downstairs outside. Otherwise, they would destroy our audio. So yeah, we did it with practical lighting. The gaff team and Rob and everyone on camera team, incredible. And so they had to figure out ways to light it where the lights are out of the way, but still giving enough throw on the room and on the actors that we can see what the hell is going on. Using 2 cameras now changes that, because you have to hide the lights or you have to include them in ways that look practical. And I think the creativity behind how they did that, they went with a very practical lighting approach, of course, but to include them, actually to see them in the scene, and made it work with, if the inmates of Arkham have gotten out and just wreaked havoc all over the place, there'd be toppled over lights. There'd be things that are just there, but it makes sense for it to be there. And so the way that they approached that, and we solidified that decision, was really, really cool.
Yeah, and I know that with the anamorphic lenses that were used, it had a really cool effect when you were recording as well.
You get a lot more play, from that lens to see on your sides. And so, yeah, we had to find ways to, okay, well, we're going to see this light. Let's make it work. Of course, we edited it, to the, but yeah, shooting with anamorphic was actually really fun and also more challenging. Something I hadn't done before. Rob had, I think, done it once before, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to, speak out of turn, but I think it was also learning aspects for him there too, which was cool.
I forget, what was the camera that we shot on?
The main camera was the Sony F5, and our bump cam was the FS7.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I forgot if it was Sony or if it was another system. This movie came out in 2016, and obviously we're still talking about it today, and people still come up to me about it. And I was at my acupuncture appointment earlier, and I was like, oh, I'm talking about this Batman fan film that I made. And she was like, what? Like you made a Batman fan film and you didn't tell me. I was like, this is before I met you. But people hear that, and it's something that, because people have had Batman in their life for most of their lives, like this is something that like there is already a fan base for, and there's already an understanding of what you're getting if you're watching a Batman film. So I think that that's a really interesting thing to just be a part of, a fun thing to have as your special fact when you're introducing yourself at networking meetings.
That's true. And actually, on to off the point of what you just said is, everyone has an expectation of Batman. The cool thing about this film, when I was saying before, it's a what if style. There is a really fun little twist at the end. So we kind of present you with, here's a regular night in the crime-fighting stylings of Batman, and then we do some stuff that people may or may not be expecting. So that's what's really cool about this film.
And we have nicely skirted around that the entire time we've been talking.
Yes, I'm so glad we did.
You thought I was going to ruin the surprise?
No, absolutely not. No, I thought I was going to ruin the surprise. I have a tendency to do that. So I'm proud of myself, and for you being set mom and the excellent producer that you are, keeping me in line. So.
Yes, I'm a very, like you said, set mom type producer. I make sure everyone's okay. Like, hey, do you need headache medicine? I have headache medicine. Are you okay? Do you need water? I have you.
That's your specialty on set, and I don't think you'd be able to do that on set had you not been so hands-on and so involved coming up to that point. Everything in pre-production, the involvement that you had and the way you handled everything was, it was the first time we had worked together, but it was beyond what I could have imagined. And your skill set in doing that and handling everything really needs to be commended, because, no, and I'm serious, because such an undertaking that this film was, we knew sort of what we were getting into. And then, of course, as we, dipped our toe in the pool even further, we realized, okay, we got a lot more work to do. And, the different aspects between director and producer, you really handled so much of it. And I am so grateful, beyond words that I had you on this team, because there's no way I could have pulled this off alone. So I'm really indebted to you for this. And I know that the way you handled getting everything prepped and moving and, caring for every aspect of the film allows you to put that care into caring for everyone, every person involved in the film when we got to set, which is amazing.
Yeah, let me explain a little bit of that because we're on a live stream and not a TV show, so we don't have a time restriction. Basically, with what you're saying, throughout the entire process, I was thinking of every what if situation that we could run into with this film. I have 2 binders of paperwork with all of the basically protocols, all of the contact sheets, all of the paperwork down to what we were eating each day, because we needed to be that thorough, because if it was a fan film, and yes, we knew the restrictions that go with a fan film, but what happens if someone says, hey, like, we need to look into what you guys did and like what you guys actually did? I wanted to have every single thing that we did documented. So being able to document everything and being able to have everything basically with me at all times, I was able to free myself up on the actual days of production to make sure that I was taking care of the crew, taking care of the cast, and coordinating the cast to get there, because the hospital is right off of like a highway. So a lot of the people were from Manhattan, so they would take the subway to the closest stop, and we would coordinate someone to pick them up. Right. As well as making sure that our day players were taken care of. So there were a lot of different moving parts, but because I already had mostly coordinated these things and did the final, like, hey, this is what we're doing for tomorrow at the end of the night, I was able to be involved in what everyone was kind of experiencing on set to make sure that it was enjoyable, because like I said earlier, people were volunteering their time. Yep. So obviously I wanted to make sure that there was some sort of return, some sort of good memory from that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think they all had a lot of fun. We talk about it often. and talk about our experiences on Batman Patient Zero, and it's really cool. We're all they always say that the set crew is the family, and that's very true. And a lot of us have worked on a bunch of different projects together before then, since then, and it's just a fun little memory that we have of how many people can say they've worked on a Batman fan film. That's
at least
fan film in general. I should say not a lot of people do fan films. There's a lot of like weird things to skirt around by making a fan film. Certain companies just don't let you touch their entities. Certain companies, thankfully, Warner Brothers was really on board with this, and they supported us. And we're like, hey, yeah, go ahead, make it. It's pretty cool. And thank you Warner Brothers for not taking it down. But yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, what are some of the projects that you're working on right now? I know you released some information earlier today on one of them, at least. If people want to kind of see what you are up to.
Yeah. So quarantine, being in quarantine has given me more of my creative juices flowing, which is really cool. And so music is my first love. So I've been doing something called Music Monday. So if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, then every Monday there will be a different piece of music that I'm releasing. This varies between either some original tunes. I got to work with Eric, which was cool. We did an original guitar piece, which was a fun collaboration.
He's downstairs, so I'll tell him you mentioned.
Yeah, like that was really cool. So like he wrote this riff, he sent it to me, sent the video of him playing it, and then I just layered over that. So we released that. And the one I released today, which is also Music Monday, is a Westworld scoring competition, which was really cool. So HBO Westworld, the composer Ramin Djawadi, who also has done the score for Game of Thrones, J.J. Abrams, Jonathan Nolan, the creators of Westworld, and Spitfire Audio all came together to offer composers the chance to compose original music for a scene that was provided from season 3. And they will select a winner, hopefully soon. And so Christian and I dove right into that, and we did our work on that, and that's out today. So if people want to check that out. But yeah, every Monday I'll release something different, whether it's a cover of something or an original piece or something like this. We did a tribute to the music of Marvel. We called it the Marvel Soundtrack Universe. That was a couple weeks ago. So yeah, that's creatively, musically, that's what I'm doing. I also have my first feature in the works, which is really, really cool. It is a film called Scarred Hearts, which deals with a lot of heavy topics, which are very personal to me. But having grown up with an abusive parent, an abusive father, we touch on that in this film. So it's about how one can find their voice through music, and how music helps people do that and find themselves in very tough, in this case, domestic violence situations. So that's my first feature, which we're gearing up for. Of course, quarantine has put a little bit of a dampen on that, but there's no stopping that. So yeah, so there's a lot of fun things happening.
So Andrew, I have one last question for you, and then what we'll do is I'll wrap up the show and I will bring you off, and then I will, thank you off camera. But for someone who wants to get into filmmaking, someone that might want to direct, someone that might want to write, what would be your words of wisdom for starting?
Do it. For me, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was studying music. I wasn't studying film. And when I was talking to my filmmaker friends about all these ideas, they said, so why don't you just do it? And that was the single greatest piece of advice, because you're never going to be ready. You're never going to feel like you're ready. And waiting for someone to give you like that spark of advice or information that you feel is going to kick you off in the right direction, you can be waiting forever. And I'm not the type of person to do that. I don't like waiting around. So if you feel like this is something, if you're like that, and even if you're not, if it's just something you want to do, just go and do it. If you have access to a camera, if you have the funds to pick up like a prosumer style camera, something, like a DSLR, you have your iPhone. You can go shoot things on your iPhone. Go out and just do it. That's the best way to learn. that's the best way to get better and hone your craft and hone your skills. Start with pulling your friends and family together. Like, hey, want to act in a film? It's fun. It's fun to get your family and friends involved in that. And they'll say yes. Who doesn't want to be in a movie? Come on. But just go out there and do it. And push yourself to make it happen. It's going to be tough. But, I mean, you have that vision. Any way you can find to realize it is the best way to start, because then you'll start building your skills and know, okay, I can go into my next project. Here's the vision that I have. It's a little bit more solidified, and I have a stronger sense of how I want to go about it this time. But you need that first time and that first push off the ground to struggle and stumble and most likely fail. But you've made a movie at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. It may not have come out the way you wanted to, but you did it. And that's what you have to look at, and that's how you have to see yourself as, I did this. It sucked at times, it was really tough at times, but I did it. Now I'm going to make another one. And then you're just going to keep going and going and going. And I'm very grateful for that advice from my friends from the film department at Hofstra, the professors there who also told me the same thing and said, yeah, dude, just go out and do it. And I am where I am today because of that. And that's my advice to you. That goes for music. That goes for any form of art. That goes for anything, really. Just do it. Not to quote Nike, but yeah. That's why I said do it, not just do it. You see, I worked around that.
I getcha. Got to be smart about those things.
Yeah.
But Andrew, I really appreciate. Oh wow, I'm lagging. No, I'm back.
You're back. You are.
People won't know on Spotify, but I really wanted to thank you for coming on today. And real quick before I wrap up, where can people find you on? You mentioned Instagram and such, and I'm guessing YouTube as well.
Yeah, so I kept it pretty much the same. My name on Facebook is Andrew Akler. On Instagram, it's Andrew Akler 12, all one word. And on YouTube, you can just search my name, Andrew Akler. It should come up. The channel is there. My website, andrewakler.com, should link you also to the YouTube. It gives you information on the current projects that I'm working on. And it will show you, the director's reel, the music reel, all linking to YouTube as well. So there's various forms of ways to find me. Instagram will be updated every Monday with the Music Monday links, which will also take you to YouTube. So many, many ways.
Alrighty.
But yeah, and thank you, Celia, for having me on this. Thank you for being a part of my filmmaking family, first and foremost. And because I definitely would not have been able to make this film without you. So thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for this opportunity to come and talk about it with you.
Of course. And something tells me that down the line, there's going to be a whole nother, project of mine that I'm going to pull you on to talk on. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But of course,
you know where to reach me. So
it's all about supporting each other. And thank you again. So I'm going to pull you off of here. I'm going to close up the show, and then I'll talk to you in a sec.
Sure. Thanks again.
So, like I said, everybody, thank you all, and thank Andrew, and thank everyone, because obviously this is episode 60 of Candid Convos, and I wouldn't be able to be here without you guys watching, without all of my guests supporting me, and that's just a mirror of what we've been talking about this entire episode, with supporting each other, creating something, whether it may be an action short or a talk show online. It's all about working together, and I think that's probably the nicest part of all of the things that we've done, me and Andrew, because it's all about working together as a team. So if you tuned into this late and would like to start it from the beginning, you can watch it here on the Celia Werner Productions Facebook page. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it, listen to it once I put it up there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, and if I find anywhere else, it'll be there too. So I want to thank you guys one last time. This is crazy that we're at episode 60, and we will be back soon with some more amazing guests for you guys. So have a great day, and I will see you guys very soon.